Hello. Throughout the semester, I've noticed that when studying sociology of the family, a very useful term that has kind of been coming up has been concerted cultivation. And I think this term is really useful in understanding how parents intentionally raise their children, although it has become a trope in the sense that it is one of the most prevalent terms in this course. But I think that's because it's also one of the most relevant. And to demonstrate this, I am going to at first explain what concerted cultivation is and kind of some of the benefits and negatives of using that parenting model. And then I'm going to show how it can be applied to a specific reading. So, concerted cultivation is the intentional act of developing certain desirable characteristics and skills in one's children by encouraging and directly organizing a child's activities and time. The term was used by Annette Lareau in describing how different socioeconomic classes of parents parent differently. So we see concerted cultivation is characterized by adults organizing a child's activities. The parents will generally negotiate with their children, so extensive reasoning, and they often will commodify the caretaking, so they'll pay for soccer lessons or music lessons, etc. Talk about the alternative to concerted cultivation, which is the natural growth model of parenting. So natural growth is basically a parenting model where children are left to play by themselves, and the theory is basically they'll develop their interests. Their activities are generally self-motivated. They tend to watch more TV, so there's less control of the child's time. Except when it comes to chores, parents they don't use the reasoning approach of concerted cultivation, they just direct and say, go do this chore. So here are some possible benefits and consequences of concerted cultivation. Intuitively, it seems that parents who can afford to employ a concerted cultivation model would do so. To understand this, I just recall that in general, children end up in a very similar economic class as their parents. And I think concerted cultivation is one of the main reasons that this happens. It's kind of a model of intentional resource distribution. So we see over on the positive side, this tends to create more exposure to activities that may be seen as a good thing to colleges. They have more professional training, they have more professional contacts, so lots of benefits, at least in a conventional sense. Finally, concerted cultivation is very applicable to several of the readings that we did. I'm going to apply it to a paper by Scalit, who compared American and Dutch parenting styles when it comes to adolescent sexuality. And what Scalit found was that U.S. parents tend to dramatize and view teenage sexuality as a hormonal phenomenon, while Dutch parents tend to normalize teenage sexuality and view it as an expression of genuine love or romantic interests. So what she found was that teenagers in both societies became sexually active on average at the same age, but US children are more likely to get pregnant and they are more likely to regret that first sexual encounter and report it as not being enjoyable. So I think US parents are using sort of a concerted cultivation model in their intent, but it's kind of a misguided use because they actually end up avoiding having a conversation and then they have unintended consequences. And if you ask most parents, I think they would say they want their children to have sexually satisfying lives through that context, I think you could convince many US parents to employ more of a Dutch approach, even though it may be a little bit culturally uncomfortable for them. So, the effects of the parenting model that US parents are employing could be traced even into college and looking at hookup culture and rape culture, because I think parents are kind of implicitly teaching children that sexuality is a hormonal and thing and based on lust, and then this leads to young adults who view sex as careless and carefree. So hopefully this has convinced you that being aware of concerted cultivation and how we parent is important for understanding both how we pass on values in class to our children and how they behave as children and young adults and on into their adult years. Thank you.